Our children are in danger. My baby! Oh! They came us. Our children are in danger. Okay, we must go. I will take you back. Don't be afraid.
Stop! You don't know what you are doing!
This is not right. They don't belong here.
These are not ordinary children. They belong to the spirits of the ocean.
This is not right. They don't belong here.
The sun was slowly sinking into the horizon, painting the sky in deep shades of gold, orange, and purple. The ocean moved gently, as if it were breathing, calm and endless. Along the quiet shore, where the waves kissed the sand, something unusual lay hidden in the fading light. 3 tiny babies rested on the beach. They were not ordinary children. One of them glowed softly in red, like a burning ember. Another shimmered in blue, calm like the deep sea. The third shone in yellow, bright like the morning sun. Their skin sparkled faintly, as though touched by magic, and their small bodies were wrapped in thin layers of light that moved like water. They were peaceful, too peaceful, as if they did not belong to this world. A soft cry broke the silence, then another. The waves responded, rising slightly. Her words echoed. For a moment, even the villagers hesitated, but fear quickly returned to their faces. "They will bring danger," someone yelled. "They are not human. They belong to the spirits." The young woman stopped, not because she was afraid, but because she understood something they did not. She slowly turned, still holding the babies close to her chest. "They are just children," she said, her voice calmer now, but stronger than before. "Can't you hear them? They are crying for their mothers." The crowd fell into a brief silence. The wind howled between them. Far behind her, the ocean surged again, louder this time, as if agreeing with her words. The elder villager stepped forward, his face hard, his eyes filled with worry. "You do not understand what you are doing," he said slowly. "These are not children of our world. And that is exactly why we must let them go," she replied without hesitation. The elder's jaw tightened. "And if they bring a curse upon us?" he asked. She shook her head gently. "They are not the danger. We are, if we keep what does not belong to us." Her words struck deeper than any shout. Some villagers lowered their eyes, others stepped back slightly, but not all were convinced. "No!" a man shouted angrily. "We cannot trust the ocean. We cannot trust them." He pointed toward the 3 mermaids, who still stood at the edge of the water, watching everything in silence. "They are powerful. If we give them what they want, they will think we are weak." The tension rose again. The young woman felt it. The moment was slipping. She turned back toward the ocean. The mermaids had not moved closer. They were waiting, watching, judging. The blue mermaid stepped forward slightly, her eyes soft but filled with urgency. "Please," she called out, her voice carried by the wind, "bring them to us." The sound of her voice was different from before, less powerful, more human, more desperate. The young woman felt her heart tighten. She took a step forward, then another. But suddenly, a hand grabbed her shoulder. She gasped and turned sharply. It was one of the villagers. "You're not going anywhere," he said firmly. The babies began to cry louder. Their glow intensified, flickering wildly. The ocean responded instantly. A massive wave rose behind the mermaids, towering and alive, ready to crash onto the shore. The ground trembled. The villagers panicked. "What is happening? They're attacking!" But the young woman understood. "They're not attacking. They're losing control." She looked at the man holding her. "Let me go," she pleaded. For a second, he hesitated. The cries of the babies grew sharper, filled with pain. The light around them pulsed violently. And then, the yellow baby let out a sudden, piercing cry. A burst of glowing energy spread outward, pushing the man back. He stumbled and fell. The young woman didn't waste a second. She turned and ran again. This time, no one stopped her. The villagers stood frozen, caught between fear and realization. Step by step, she reached the water. The waves slowed. The wind softened. The moment she stepped into the shallow sea, the glow of the babies calmed. The mermaids moved closer, now only a few steps away, close enough to see every detail on their faces. Tears, hope, fear. The young woman stopped. Her breathing was heavy, her arms ached, but her eyes were steady. She looked at each of the mermaids, then gently lowered herself to her knees in the water. "I believe they are yours," she said softly. The red mermaid stepped forward first, her hands trembling as she reached out. The moment their skin touched, the baby's glow became steady, warm, alive. The mother let out a broken breath, holding her child close. "My child," she whispered. Next, the blue one, then the yellow. One by one, the babies returned where they belonged. The ocean fell silent, completely silent. Even the wind stopped. For a moment, the world held its breath. The young woman slowly stood, stepping back, unsure what would happen next. Behind her, the villagers watched in stunned silence. No one moved. No one spoke. Because deep down, they all knew something powerful had just changed. The ocean remained still, as if it were holding a secret too powerful to release too quickly. The three mermaid mothers stood in the shallow water, each holding her child's close, their glowing bodies finally calm and complete again. The red light no longer flickered in fear. The blue glow no longer trembled. The yellow light shone softly, like a peaceful sunrise. For the first time since the night began, everything felt right. The young woman stood quietly in front of them, her chest rising and falling as she tried to catch her breath. The cold water touched her feet, but she did not move. Her eyes remained fixed on the mothers and their babies. She expected fear. She expected anger. But what she saw instead surprised her. Gratitude. The blue mermaid stepped forward slowly, her movements gentle now, no longer carried by tension or urgency. She looked at the young woman with eyes full of emotion, deep, ancient, and sincere. "You heard them," she said softly. Her voice no longer echoed like a storm. It flowed like calm water, smooth and warm. The young woman swallowed, unsure of what to say. "I just couldn't ignore them," she replied quietly. The yellow mermaid smiled faintly, holding her child close. Many would have. Fear often speaks louder than truth. Behind the young woman, the villagers still stood at a distance. No one dared to come closer now. The fear that once pushed them forward had turned into silence and shame. The village elder slowly stepped ahead of the others. His face was no longer hard, but thoughtful, heavy with realization. "We did not understand," he admitted, his voice lower than before. "We acted out of fear." The red mermaid turned her gaze toward him. For a brief moment, the air grew tense again. Her power was still there, strong, undeniable, but now it was controlled. Fear is not your enemy, but what you do because of it can be. Her words settled over the village like a quiet lesson. The elder lowered his head slightly. "You are right," he said. The young woman looked back at her people. She saw it clearly now, the change in their faces. The anger was gone. The shouting had faded. What remained was something deeper, understanding. Slowly, she turned back to the mermaids. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice sincere. "They didn't mean to harm them." The blue mermaid nodded gently. "We know. The ocean sees the truth in hearts." A soft glow began to rise from the water around them. It was different from before, not intense, not overwhelming, but peaceful, warm, almost comforting. The three babies made soft sounds, no longer cries, but gentle voices filled with life. They moved slightly in their mother's arms, their glowing bodies blending together, red, blue, and yellow, creating a beautiful harmony that reflected on the surface of the sea. The yellow mermaid looked at the young woman again. "You made a choice, a difficult one." The young woman frowned slightly. "I just did what felt right," she answered. "That is what makes it powerful," the mermaid replied. The red mermaid stepped closer, her presence strong but no longer frightening. She raised her hand slowly, water gathering around her fingers like liquid light. "For your courage, we will not forget you." The young woman tensed slightly but did not step back. The glowing water moved toward her, surrounding her hands, her arms, her chest. It was warm, alive, gentle. She gasped softly as she felt something change, not on the outside, but within. Her fear disappeared completely, replaced by calm, clarity, strength. The glow faded slowly, leaving her standing in the quiet water, untouched, yet somehow transformed. What did you do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The blue mermaid smiled. "We gave you what you already had, the courage to always listen to your heart." The young woman stood still, absorbing every word. Behind her, a child from the village slowly stepped forward, then another. The fear that once kept them away was fading, replaced by curiosity and wonder. The ocean, once wild and threatening, had become calm again. The balance was restored. The elder spoke once more, his voice filled with respect this time. "Will we see you again?" he asked. The three mermaids exchanged a look. Then the yellow one answered, "The ocean is always near, but we only rise when we are needed." The red mermaid held her baby closer, her gaze softening one last time as she looked at the young woman. "You have done more than you know." A gentle silence followed. Then slowly, the three mermaids began to move backward into the water. Step by step, their bodies blended with the sea, their glowing forms fading into the deep blue. The baby's lights were the last to disappear. Red, blue, yellow. Then nothing. Only the sound of soft waves remained. The young woman stood alone at the edge of the ocean, the first light of dawn beginning to rise behind her. The sky slowly shifted from darkness to gold, just like the beginning of a new story. Behind her, the village was quiet, different. As if everyone had learned something they would never forget. She looked at her hands one last time, then toward the horizon, and she smiled. Have you subscribed, liked, and shared this story with your close friends? That is the only gift I ask from you. Thank you. We continue. The sun rose slowly over the village, spreading golden light across the ocean as if nothing had happened the night before. But everything had changed. The waves were calm now, gentle and peaceful, moving with a quiet rhythm that felt almost like a heartbeat. The wind carried a softness that had not been there before. Even the air felt lighter. The young woman stood at the shore, her feet touching the cool water, her eyes fixed on the horizon. She had not slept, not because of fear, but because of everything she had seen, everything she had felt, everything she had understood. Behind her, the village slowly came back to life. People stepped out of their homes, speaking in low voices, as if they were afraid to break the peace that had settled over them. Children pointed toward the ocean. Adults stood quietly, thinking. The village elder walked slowly toward the young woman. His steps were calm, his expression no longer heavy, but thoughtful. "You were right," he said gently as he reached her side. She didn't turn immediately. "I just listened," she replied. He nodded. "And that is what we failed to do," he admitted. For a moment, they both stood in silence watching the endless sea. We thought we were protecting ourselves, but we almost caused harm instead. The young woman finally looked at him. Fear can blind us, but it doesn't have to control us. The elder gave a small, respectful nod. "You have taught us something important," he said. She shook her head softly. "No," she answered. "We all learned." The elder smiled faintly before turning back toward the village. From that day on, things were no longer the same. The villagers no longer feared the ocean the way they once did. They respected it. They listened to it. They understood that not everything unknown was meant to be taken or controlled. Children were told the story not as a warning, but as a lesson about listening, a lesson about courage, a lesson about doing what is right, even when no one else understands. As for the young woman, something within her had changed forever. She felt it in the way she walked, in the way she saw the world, in the way she listened to the wind, to the waves, and to her own heart. Days passed, then weeks. Life returned to its normal rhythm. But one evening, as the sun began to set once again, painting the sky in familiar shades of gold and orange, the young woman found herself drawn back to the shore. She didn't know why, she just felt it, the same quiet pull she had felt before. She walked slowly across the sand, her eyes scanning the ocean. The water was calm, still, silent. For a moment, she thought she was alone. Then a soft glow appeared beneath the surface. Her breath caught. Another glow followed, then another. Red, blue, yellow. She stepped closer to the water, her heart beating faster, not with fear, but with something deeper. Hope. The glow rose slowly just beneath the surface, like a secret waiting to be revealed. And then she heard it. A soft, familiar sound. Not a cry this time, but a laughter. Gentle, joyful, alive. Tears filled her eyes as she smiled. "They're okay," she whispered. The lights moved playfully beneath the water, circling each other, dancing like living colors in the sea. For a brief moment, the surface broke slightly, just enough for her to see them. The 3 babies. No longer weak, no longer afraid. They were stronger now, brighter, safe in their world. One of them, the yellow one, moved closer to the surface, as if recognizing her. Its glow pulsed gently, like a silent thank you. The young woman placed her hand over her heart. "I'm glad you're home," she said softly. The lights slowly faded, sinking back into the depths of the ocean. But this time, the silence that followed was not empty. It was full. Full of peace, full of connection, full of a promise that did not need words. The young woman stood there for a long moment, watching the place where the lights had disappeared. Then she turned back toward the village, her steps calm, her heart light. She knew now that some bonds could never be broken, not by distance, not by fear, not by time. Because true connection is not about where you belong, it is about understanding where others belong and having the courage to let them go. That night, as the stars filled the sky and the ocean whispered its endless song, the story of the 3 colored babies became more than just a memory. It became a truth that would live on in every heart that chose courage over fear and kindness over control. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to this channel, liked the video, and shared it with their close friends. They will love this story too.